Now, I'm just saying democracy is stuffed when a bloke like this can lie to the electorate and get away with it. The non-existent Liberal opposition have a lot to answer for. They've got little talent to hold Andrews accountable. I'm saying make Sam Groth, the recently elected former tennis player, the leader of the party. Sam Groth is articulate, he's young, he's got energy, he's got guts and he's got credibility. He would take the fight up to Andrews. I mean, because this stuff can't go on. The interest bill on Victorian debt, think about this. Oh, it's hard to say it. 10 million a day. The interest bill on Victorian debt is 10 million a day. This imposter Andrews committed to the Commonwealth Games for political reasons, to win favour in regional Victoria. Now he's trashed Victoria's and Australia's international reputation. As Sam Groth wrote, how can you trust Victoria given the state of the budget and the fact it might pull the rug from under you? Unquote. Well done, Sam. Talking about trust, on another subject, the voters in Warringah are waking up to Zali Steggall. Voters have turned off on all her climate change rubbish, renewables, wind and solar. She hasn't got the guts to put a wind turbine on Manly Beach, and she's opposed to nuclear. Hardly a surprise that local voters thought she had, quote, not done enough as your local member to deserve re-election. Get rid of her. Last year in June, she called nuclear power a distraction. Well, the reality is voters must wake up. No one in the Parliament listens to independents. They might knock on the Prime Minister's door, but I can tell you, no one opens it. What about this? The top executives of Australia's largest consulting firms have confirmed they received at least $13 million before the furore over leaked confidential tax briefings erupted. The pay packets of consultants. The former chief executive of Pricewaterhouse, Tom Seymour, took home $4.6 million. Deloitte Australia CEO Adam Powick revealed on Monday he was paid more than $3.5 million. He told Labor Senator Deborah O'Neill that he was not, as she put it, worth 7 times the salary of the Australian Prime Minister. To be fair, Mr Powick defended his pay packet, noting, quote, we're in a free market. And that's fair enough. But Mr Powick, for that money, we expect leaders to run organisations that are honest. Great comments by Gary Johns, campaigning for the no vote, a former Hawke Labor minister, who says most Aboriginal people are, quote, grateful for the gift of modernisation. And Gary Johns defended the work of churches and their involvement with the stolen generations, making lives of young Indigenous Australians better. Dr Johns said on June 23, we were all hunters and gatherers once, but we've moved on. Now, he said that Western civilisation had, quote, brought a gift to this country, and most Aboriginal people are grateful for that gift, unquote. But he was right when he said that some Aborigines had developed an attitude that says, you owe us, you give us everything we want, but we don't have to play your game. In a splendid observation, Gary Johns said, we're not killing them because we're not listening to them. In fact, one of the worst things you can do is listen to the victim, because the victim will always say, if you give me more, this wouldn't have happened. But we know that giving more makes them less able, unquote. Gary Johns rightly said, Aboriginal society meant that old men took as many young women as they wanted, pretty much the same as we did in earlier generations. But when women found that they were protected by the church, they started to change their culture, unquote. Well, this will all be described, of course, as a far-right rant. That's always the language used when the left can't answer the argument. Now, you might remember yesterday I said Peter Dutton should challenge the Prime Minister to debate on the voice issue. Albo would be left mumbling and muttering. Dutton would walk away with an argument about the obvious. Well, someone must have been listening. Jacinta Price says she wants to debate the Indigenous Australians Minister Linda Burney on the voice. 2 things. You watch. First, little publicity will be given to Jacinta's challenge by the left-wing media. And second, if the media were honest, why don't they hunt down Linda Burney for an answer? I will. You're listening to ADH. I'm Alan Jones.